Hi, I'm Jim Schroeder, and and I wear old T-shirts.
I thought maybe Wix or
well, we do that
Handlebar.
sometimes with our podcast. We'll do what I call reverse sponsors. People that don't know that they're sponsors of the program. They're not paying us any money. We're just advertising for them.
Yeah, that's the way that it is. I like that.
Yeah. Reverse sponsor, we call it.
I didn't know that in the business, that's what they called it.
They don't. I made it up.
Yeah, I was going to say even better.
You could have taken me by a long time.
Oh, boy.
Jim goes around and tells everybody, did you know reverse sponsors were...
Go ahead.
All right. Well, we've got Jim Schroeder here, and he's a regular guest. He comes and represents the Mazomanie Music Conservancy, Staph Infection,
Cornet
and
Band.
the Cornet Band, which is what we want to talk. It's called the Iron Horse
Cornet
Band, not community, just Iron Horse Cornet Band.
Right. The original name on our paperwork for the
Lost a light.
in order to.
Go ahead and fiddle with it if you
No, I think it's just been. Go ahead.
Has it
Sorry.
been- okay.
It's been.
fiddling around. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll just be in the dark here, which is what we are typically. Everybody will be able to.
I'll be shaded
hear
this
us.
way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. The original paperwork for the band was
when we filled out our nonprofit status, it was called the Iron Horse Cornet Band and Light Opera Company. Okay.
light opera. And do you have a backstory on that? Is there?
Well, one of the designs, the original thoughts of this band would be that we would perform shows that would be more than just music concerts. There may be a short skit
Acting and stuff
about
along
a
with it.
song
Okay.
or several of them during the show. I want to think it was the summer of 1999. I want to think we did a show down at the Mazomanie Gym, and it was it really incorporated a lot. We had the band, but then we had guest performers. Some of the band broke off into different sections and did we had a barbershop quartet.
Oh, okay.
Some of us got together to sing barbershop. There was a Lennon Sisters skit with some of the female singers. So I think that's where the Light Opera Company came in.
Okay.
But soon after that, we just decided to be a community band.
Okay.
And so now what we do is we have a show coming up on 31st of July at the Milestone Senior Living Center in Cross Plains. And then our final show for the year will be on the 29th of August at Lake Marion.
But this is a celebration year, right? Because this is your 25th anniversary year.
25th year,
Okay.
right. We played a couple more gigs this summer. We played like 6. This will be 6.
did?
So
Okay.
that's about all we like to play. If you figure 2 per month, because we don't rehearse in the summer. We usually rehearse until around the 1st of June.
Yeah.
And then we usually have 2 in June and 2 in July and then 2 in August. It doesn't quite work out that way every year. But this year it worked out pretty close to that.
So you talked about the name, the incorporated name, and how that's changed. Obviously, what are some other things about the history that you remember? How it got started, why it got started. Maybe some founding members. Anything you want to, whatever you don't want to say, whatever you want to say.
Oh, sure.
If there's something that's kind of historical about it, just because we're celebrating the 25th, and this is about the band. So
that would have put me about 42 years old, Todd. And you got that to look forward to, I know. Turning 42.
The year 42? Yeah.
That's way back.
Am I closer to 42 than you are?
Probably, yeah.
15 years?
I'm very close to Jim's age.
Well, I always tell them I'm closer to 70 than I am 60.
Yes, you
So
are.
that's about. But anyway, Yeah, the band started. I was teaching fifth grade at the time, and was inspired by, different communities having bands. Even on Mayberry RFD, they had a community band.
You bet they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
We know this. We know the stories well.
Don't want to model it too closely after that.
So I get to think, why doesn't this area have a band? Black Earth doesn't have one.
Yeah.
Sauk Prairie doesn't have one.
Oh, really? Okay.
Meso, Mount Horeb had one.
They did. Okay.
But in this area, Cross Plains didn't have one. So it had been a desire of mine to start one. I mean, because I had played in high school like many of us had and hadn't played since. But one of the other inspirations were, I recall before 98, seeing your family perform at the Memorial Day service.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And was really inspired to think that this is the kind of thing that community bands do, is that they play for community celebrations like Memorial Day, 4th of July, any kind of community-wide celebration.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was teaching at the time, 5th grade, down in Meso School, and one of my parents was a fellow by the name of Jim Jordan. And Jim Jordan worked for the university bands. And during parent conference, I talked with him about to see if he had an interest, because I don't know a thing about directing a band.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to play drums.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know how to organize.
Mm-hmm.
So I told him if he took care of the music part, I'd take care of the organizational part. And he agreed to that.
Mm-hmm.
And so put out, first thing you got to decide what night we're going to have practice. And at the time, Mondays were really good to have practice because the school didn't have a lot of things going on Monday nights.
Mm-hmm.
And so we reserved the band room at the because this was 98, so the new middle school was built. So it was a fairly new band room, and 7:15 was we're going to practice on. So you never know who's going to show up, the first time. And I think we had like 15 people show up. 15 people. And a couple drummers, couple trumpets, just kind of a spattering, like most you would expect that the band would have because most bands have the instrumentation necessary to play. And so what we got these little music books of Christmas songs. and we were just looking for music, and the band director at the high school at the time might have been, I don't remember his name, but he allowed us to get some music from him because we didn't have any music. Jim had some access to music from the UW. And our first show was that Christmas. We played for something down at the community building, and it was sort of like the Mayberry RFD band. Yeah. We didn't have a lot of parts, but word got out, and and the next time at practice we might have had 18, and then we might have had 20. It just kept growing and growing as people heard about it.
And you had probably 15 drummers, right? 15 drummers, and
that's the section we could always use more.
Really? Okay.
As you know, these parts, some of these concert music pieces, they'll have percussion 1, 2, 3, 4.
Auxiliary. They've got a lot of different.
And every one of those
yeah.
parts has 3 instruments, so you're playing 3 different instruments per song.
Yeah.
And Nick kind of gets frustrated. Our director Nick Dunkel, a fine fella he is. He's really been a treasure to our band, but he'll get frustrated because we're trying to find the instruments that we have to play for this particular song. Unlike a trombone player, all they got to do is turn the page, where we've got to pick different things up. But we're getting better after 25 years.
Just think how good the next 25 will be.
Oh, man. I hope I'm still around.
Yeah.
That would be a real thrill to be around at 92. Yeah, that would be or no, 92. I don't know. No, it must be 98.
98.
Yeah, 98
Yeah.
would be.
So Jim Jordan was there for
50.
how many years? A few years, and then Nick took
Yep,
over?
Yep, for about a year and a half. And then
okay.
he, I think he retired from the university system and moved to Michigan.
Michigan, yeah.
And so at the time, our director, Nick Dunkel, was playing trumpet for us because he's an amazing trumpet player. He's in the Wisconsin Polka Hall of Fame.
He is.
Yeah, because he plays with polka bands throughout the state.
Didn't know that.
So we asked him if he'd direct for us, and he said sure, he would, because he's a former high school band director in Iowa. And it's kind of interesting that we've had several band directors in our band. Right now we have 3 band directors, and hope to hope more people will come, because we can always have more parts. We're always promoting for new members.
Yeah,
we are, and this last year we picked up 2 students from the River Valley area. One of the students' mom played the flute, and her daughter played flute in the River Valley band, and her best friend wanted to play too. So our flute, now we have 6 flutes. Now think of a band that has 6 flutes. That's a lot of flutes. I can even hear them sometimes above the din of the percussion.
So what do you you had 15 at the first practice. Is that the smallest the band has ever been?
Yes.
And now what would be, I know it kind of fluctuates because, of course, it's all volunteer and such. How many would be a typical piece band would you have now?
Probably about 35 will show up for a concert. Being a volunteer band with adults, they all have other things going on in their lives. They have vacations and things, and they're very good at telling me or telling their mates in the band.
The next year over.
Yeah, right, that they're not going to be there. So they talk it over to make sure all the parts are covered.
Yeah,
it's one of the things is I know, Hudson, you were in the percussion section. You know that one of the only classes you can be in high school where a freshman can be right next to a senior.
Yeah.
And so you get to develop these relationships where because you laugh at the same things, you get frustrated at the same things, but mostly laughing. And it's same thing happens. I think of the movie Mr. Holland's Opus. It was about Richard Dreyfuss starred as Mr. Holland, and he high school band director, but he wrote this opus, and upon his retirement, they got a band back together and to play his music for him, and it was a great movie. But that's what it's about in band. You get these relationships, these friendships. How would I have gotten to know a lot of these people if it hadn't been for the band?
Well, it's a different type of, most of us were athletes. It's a different type of where you belong to something, you're shooting for a goal, you have your ups, you have your downs, you have your things to laugh about, cry about. There's victories and defeats.
In that even.
So it's kind of that way, even if you weren't an athlete, but it's your way to be part of kind of a family, part of an organization, all working toward the same goal.
Exactly right. And our goal is to perform for the public, and hopefully be good enough or to get better. Yeah. And even at my age, I'm still getting better. It's an interesting thing too. We have this other group that's formed within the band, and it's the hand chime choir that play, and we have, let's see, 4 percussionists, 2 trombones, and a flute player. And have you ever seen hand bells?
Yes.
Well, those are too expensive and too big. So we have something called hand chimes where you use the same motion. But again, it just for different variety of music and a willingness of some of these members to put forth the practice on these type of instruments and produce some really nice music. And they invited me to be a part of it. It's worked out fairly good, if I remember which is right and which is left-handed. Because everybody has 2 or 3 chimes. I only get 2 because, like I said, that adds that gives an intermission to the rest of the band when we play. And it's been a great time. We hope to have a percussion ensemble to play for the Christmas program, which is how many percussionists? I think there's like 13 parts. Think about that, Hudson.
You got 2 in this family. Drew was also a percussionist.
Are you still the president?
I'm the president for life.
You are, okay.
Yeah.
So you're the originator, the founder, and the president. What are some unusual, or I don't know if we want to say big, at least unusual venues that you've played in over the years? Because anytime you're in some sort of a musical thing, there's stories about venues, about difficult places to play. Maybe a couple of those before we move on to a few other questions.
Yeah, there've been a few. One of the things about a community band, you have to be kind of self-sufficient. So I always ask places if they have chairs, because we need chairs.
Sure.
The players bring their instrument and their stands. Music stands and their music. So they have 3 things to think about, right? You can't believe how many times I get asked, do I have an extra stand? Because percussion, we have 6 stands. Okay.
Yeah.
Just because we're spread out.
Right.
And but the chairs are an important thing. So like when we play on the 31st or the 29th of August, we will take our own chairs. I have a trailer. Okay. I have like 40 chairs that I will strap in there and take them to the venue. I may have to take a tent along.
You're president and roadie.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we'll load up one of them. I have 2 20 by 20 tents. Oh. That's another story, how I came into possession of those, but I'll take those along and set them up because we'll be playing in a parking lot. And if you know anything about playing outside, that music just goes.
No acoustics at all, really.
Nothing.
Huh? Yeah.
I may not be able to hear the trombones who are sitting in front of me because that music. So the roof really helps keep it in.
It does.
That's why these shelters are great places to play. You can hear everything. It's really great. So we had a bandmate who worked at Home Depot in Madison. And they were having some sort of customer appreciation day. And so we made arrangements. Thing was good. So we ended up playing. Again, I didn't go there previously to see where the manager thought. So he put us in the parking lot, and luckily I brought the tents with me in the chairs. But it was we looked at it as another place to play. Okay, and so That was one time. Then we used to play. We started around the same time as the Madison Mallards did. And knowing Steve Schmidt, the owner, I said, would you ever want a band to play? And so he said, sure. And so we got the arrangements, so we all show up. And we got this one little spot picked out for us, and we set up there. Think about this. We're probably 30 members, 30 chairs, bass drum, drum set, bells, chimes, well, not chimes, but bells and xylophones and tubas, and we really had a great time. But they also wanted us to go out onto the field to play the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh, wow. That'd take a little bit of movement.
Yeah. So we did that somehow, and we really had a fun time doing that. That was because at that time we didn't have a lot of places to play, and to have one in front of 3,000 people.
Yeah,
that was pretty amazing for us to have that opportunity. We used to play during Memorial Day after the program that was at the elementary school. The band would go out to the cemetery and play a song in the Catholic cemetery, and then one in the Protestant, a different song. Okay, but we knew we had to do this. But again, we didn't sit for that. We were transporting everything. So I'm kind of built to lift and carry things. So my job was the bass drum to carry that over and back across the road. Those were some of the places we played where you generally wouldn't find live music.
Yeah,
but it was all part of it. We don't go to the cemetery anymore.
Okay,
because as what's happened, we've all gotten older, and it wasn't really adding much to the program.
Yeah.
After playing, 4 or 5 songs in the gym, then going out there. So one year we just decided we can't do that anymore.
Plus you have to try to navigate Highway 14, which is hard enough just in your tennis shoes, let alone with a bass drum or something like that.
Yeah. I used to hook, you know how bass drum is, Hudson. It's got the tuners on it. So I would hook one of the tuners on my belt. So that gave me a little bit of
leverage. Yeah.
I didn't play it, but I carried it. And but that was just part of what
I can't imagine marching with a concert bass drum rather than a marching bass drum. That's a little bit different.
Right.
That's how I got hooked into playing the tuba in 5th grade. The band director down there said, "You're a big boy and you got big lips, so I think you should play the tuba." That was my music, wrapped up into big boy, and so I carried the tuba. Yeah, and go ahead. Were you going to say something?
We've had some wonderful tuba players throughout the years, and one what I'll remember, Nick recruited him because Nick had played in a lot of polka bands with him, and very good tuba player. But it was kind of interesting is that almost every song he always played the pickup note, as they do
in the polka.
Yeah. So I mean, we weren't going to change that style, but it was just kind of funny to see the different kind of styles that were blending in. And he was a fine fella too. It was really a great person. Again, I would have never got to know that person, and it was really. We played one time at the community building, I remember, but in order to have space, I had to set up, we had to set up risers. And so we had to get them from Mazamani School, take them over to the community building. And these are not easy the new ones are amazing. One person can take care of them, but we had to. It was all manual labor, and I remember the baritone player at the time moved his chair a little bit too far. He was in the back row, and he just went right over and didn't get hurt or anything. But
You keep playing?
Well, gotta keep playing.
Oh, boy.
I have two more questions for you, and then if you have something else you want to add. So there's you, founder, president, still in the band. Deb, I take it was
She retired a year ago.
She did, okay.
Yeah.
Is there anybody?
And she was not an original member.
Okay. Is there anybody that's been there since the beginning besides you, or are you the only person that's been a 25-year vet?
No. There's, I want to say, it must be 5 years ago. Nick, who keeps track of these things.
Okay.
Got 20-year pins.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I want to think there was about 12
really?
of us
That's amazing.
who've been
I would
there.
never have guessed that with just, moving and sickness and passing away and all these different things.
families and children.
Yeah.
And but I think it's because it's such a unique opportunity. Ben Hodson, our mutual friend, who's just a great person, he was one of the original members.
He was.
And when he got that night at band, he was telling us he hadn't played since he was 18 in high school. He hadn't played in 50 years. And he showed up, and he was with us for like 20 years.
What instrument did he play?
He was a cornet player.
Cornet player.
Yeah.
That's amazing, because I was going to say, I haven't played the tuba for 45 years, so don't expect me. But Ben just showed me up and said, you can still do it after 50 years.
Everybody says the same thing, because you did it for so long. In the age when you were real impressionable, that you sit down and all of a sudden it starts coming back to you. Now, not being a real instrument player, not a woodwind or brass.
I take offense to that. Not being a real
That's
instrument player.
That's just two percussionists speaking,
There's the last time Jim's on the podcast.
We have a role. And one of them is not to whine as much as everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. Keep it light.
Yeah, keep it light, and the tempo. So, but for those players, they have some physical needs that they have to have. Lip strength has to be there, and so we get a lot of whining about, oh, my lips are sore, and why? We never whine. The percussionists never whine. Our hands don't get sore. We don't get tired.
No.
Just throw another song at us. We'll play it.
Yeah.
So, but, and the other thing is we take a break now. After our last show, our practice is like the middle of September, first practice, and we don't play a concert until around the first Saturday in December. Will be our next concert. So, or after the summer programs are finished. So we have a chance. There's some that practice. I mean, there's many of them that practice at home. So they're in shape. But when we come back in September for practice, there's a little time, and Nick understands that too. He's been in several bands, so there's a week or two of getting your lips back in shape and telling old stories that everybody's heard before, but they still laugh at them.
So anything else as we wrap up the talk about the band and its 25th year? Anything else that comes to mind that you want to make sure you get in?
Well, we like I said, we're open to anybody coming and joining who's played an instrument before. We don't give lessons, and so sorry, you have to have a basic understanding of tempo and time and the instrument that you played, but just feel welcome, because there's very good people there who will help you get situated, get started. Will help you, show you fingerings if you've forgotten. And what it's so good to see is how people, after a year, they tell me how much fun they're having. And, that's what it's all about. I think I probably told this story before about how as we get older, our circle of friends gets smaller, just naturally. And by joining organizations like this, actually our circle of friends is staying the same because we're meeting new friends. And band is a great way to do that because I think band people just think different sometimes. They find things funny that no one else would find funny.
Sure.
So that's why
it's a culture. Because I played sports, and that's a culture. And then I was in the band, and then I did some acting, and that's kind of a culture. And so, it's just you find different things that are funny, interesting, all sorts of stuff like that.
And to have an activity for adults or for high school kids too.
Sure.
We're happy to take high school kids on. And it's been a great 25 years, and it seems like I have more fun each concert. Like the 4th of July one we did down at the park was probably the best I think we've sounded.
Good.
For the whole year. And you could just feel the energy.
Yeah.
And then Nick says, we just got one more song. And you go, no.
Yeah.
We got 3 more on the list.
Yeah.
We could do them.
Yeah.
But it was getting dark. And the lights. One thing I've got to do, jobs to do before we play someplace. I got to go change the light bulbs in some of these shelters.
Yes, right.
Because I don't think they've been cleaned or changed for years.
Yeah.
And so we do need light, of course. So thanks for keep letting me think about that, because I got to get that done.
Yeah, and also remember, don't forget website too.
That's
in the next 25 years, you have to get an Iron Horse community or band, concert band.
Yeah.
Iron Horse
Cornet
band.
Yeah.
And it's your 25th anniversary. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
I think it's a night. I believe that I had 2 readings that I did for the Cornet band. One down at the shelter and one at Mazomania you guys invited me to do. So I've been glad to be a part of that.
Right.
Small part of it.
And we still talk about that too. And if we ever bring that back, we'll get a hold of you for that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, because Nick's got that music, and we talk about it periodically.
I'm on the will call.
Yeah.
But don't call us, Todd. We'll call you.
And I appreciate the chance to visit with you fellas and spread the word about it. Because I think this area, and we didn't want to be the Mazomania, band, because they're from all over the area here. Plain, Spring Green, Mount Horeb, Sauk. So Iron Horse, reflection of Mazomania. But we're just it's a name that nobody knows where we're coming from, But the whole thing is that this whole area here, I think, should be very proud of the fact that they have a community band that performs and has fun and really is pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some great musicians, and then they let me play with them. But then again, I'm the president.
Being the president has its privileges.
Can't kick me out.
Exactly. Well, thanks, Jim.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you very
it.
much.
Yeah, thanks
You're
for
welcome.
coming by.
You're
and we'll
welcome.
keep talking about the band because you'll have other events coming up, so we'll have you back about that.
Definitely.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.